what's going on, everybody? For First We Feast, I'm Sean Evans, coming at you from Ivan Ramen on Manhattan's Lower East Side, where I'm joined by Just Blaze. He's a legendary hip-hop producer. He's made beats for everyone from Jay-Z and Beyonce to Drake and Kanye West. But what you might not know is that he's one of the music industry's biggest, most devoted ramen junkies. Would that be a fair characterization, Just Blaze?
Pretty fair. I'm actually opening my own ramen restaurant in Jersey City. If Ivan does this thing, I might have to either hire him or buy him out. Get him out of here.
And what I like about you is whether it's polo or it's horror movies, Just Blaze doesn't have just hobbies. Just Blaze gets really nerdy about all the things that he's into.
My thing is, and it's funny, I was actually saying this to somebody this morning. If you're gonna do it all the way. Otherwise, why bother? But I remember being in Shibuya and being at a ramen house. My switch went on, and that was it. Doesn't take long to prepare. Doesn't take long to eat, but when it's done right, it's just as good as any 4-course meal that you have at a super fancy spot.
So the ramen scene, it's exploded in cities like New York and Chicago over the last 10 years. And today, we're gonna get a crash course from Just Blaze, as well as one of the most celebrated ramen masters in NYC, and that's Ivan Orkin. But first, another awkward segue to the kitchen to figure out what the hell we're eating for lunch.
When I started this whole process, I didn't know anything. I was already a pretty seasoned chef. I worked for many years, and yet the whole ramen making process seemed daunting to me because I would watch them make bowls while I was eating in Tokyo and be like, what are they putting in there? What are they doing? Why do they do that? So ramen was one of the things that I didn't understand just by looking at it. So this challenge of taking something I knew nothing about and owning it and doing it really well was really exciting. Sheer ramen is my revelation. You get an empty bowl and you fill it with tare and fat and a little seasoning. Our noodles are very thin and they cook very quickly in 40 seconds. We serve a double soup. So it's a whole chicken soup and a dashi, which is soup based on smoked shaved fish, and kombu, which is Japanese seaweed. We cook a pork belly that's been lightly seasoned and cured, and then we roast it very slowly and put a slice of that on top with a sort of a 6-minute and 30-second egg. It's really nice when the yolk kind of breaks into the broth. It adds some viscosity and a lot of flavor, and there's some scallions on top. What is authentic? I mean, I'm one of the most authentic ramen shops in America, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to look at it that way. I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I'm just saying this whole idea of authenticity. I mean, ramen is one of the most sort of inauthentic things. And I could take you to Tokyo and I could take you to shops that each shop would be so drastically different from the other one, but they're popular. There's no standard in ramen making. There is no rule book. If it tastes good and people like the way you serve it, you succeed, and if they don't, you fail.
All right, so we're here at the table. Ivan here, Just Blaze is here, and of course we got a full table of food. And I'm happy that I have a couple of ramen nerds here because there seem to be so many rules when it comes to how you eat ramen.
Right.
Ivan, can you give me the plan of attack? Can you give me ramen
There's only 2 rules.
What are the 2 rules?
There's only 2 rules. Rule number 1, eat it while it's hot.
Okay.
I mean, I see people taking an hour and a half to eat a bowl of ramen. It's insane. And then you want to slurp it. You get all the broth and all the flavor kind of whipping up into your mouth, and it's just a great way to eat. And after that,
it's about a balance. There's a balance of the flavors. When you try to eat it piecemeal, like I'll have a little broth, I'll have a little bit of noodle, I'll have a piece of chicken. You're kind of negating the purpose.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
That's totally true. You take a little bit less than you think you need to, so while you practice your slurp. And then you want to slurp it up like you drink really hot coffee in the morning. You know you need that first sip, but it's burning hot, but you drink it anyway. Exactly.
Okay.
So you just...
There you go.
There you go.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed my slurp.
First try.
When you slurp, you get a rhythm. You get your renge, and you're slurping up some noodles, and you're sipping some broth, and you're eating some chashu, and you're eating an egg, and all of a sudden you look up and the bowl's empty.
Exactly, it's gone.
Since I have the ramen guys at the table, I want to bounce some common ramen myths and common ramen things that people say, and I want to just get your snap take on whether you think it's true, whether you think it's not true, and just sort of your position on these things, all right? Instant ramen, it's just for college kids. They don't eat that stuff in Japan.
And those are better than a lot of the ones that you see in the restaurants out here.
Yeah, and in Japan they do ones that the average price is about $3. It comes with oil, fat packs and different seasoning packs, and you peel it back, you pour the water, the noodles cook, then you add in all this fat, and it tastes like ramen.
Ramen, it should be cheap.
Boy, that's like the bane of my goddamn existence, I'll tell you what. It takes us 3 days to make a bowl of ramen, and people are like, well, it's $15, it's ridiculous. Well, you know what? My shop is just a restaurant. We happen to make ramen. I can take you to Italian restaurants where a plate of spaghetti from a box with very tasty fresh tomatoes on top is 27, 28 bucks. And everybody thinks that's okay. They're like, oh, the guy's an artist. I'm like, come on, smushed up some tomatoes on some pasta.
Are there any parallels in the balance in a ramen bowl and the balance in a song?
I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. The average person is not going to listen to a record and be like, well, you know what? If the vocal performance was maybe shifted over to the right about, 2 degrees, and if maybe they just changed the compression ratio on the master fader, average person doesn't know what that means. But we understand that all those elements that go into making a great record. The same way, so what the guy was going to understand what goes into making a great bowl of ramen. They just don't, they like it or they don't. Our job is to shape that.
I had never a moment with my wife where we both ate somewhere great and then like later on in the day we looked at each other with a smile on our face at the same moment.
Right.
And it was totally clear that we were both smiling about that meal we had had.
Right.
And it was such a moment. And I was just like, that's when food's great. That's when you have a meal with somebody and later on you're both just still in it.
Well, the best part of ramen is when you get to the broth. So I think that we should close with a little
Payoff.
a little bowl toss.
Cheers.
Well, I'm
Cheers.
brothless, so I'll just pretend I'm part of your party.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Let's do that again.
Let's do it again.